Welcome to another Legions Imperialis battle report. Today we're going to be playing Slaughter at the Crucible from the new Ruins of the Salamander book. We don't have historical forces, so to speak, but we're going to give the mission a try. And we have this open space towards me, which is where I'm going to be deploying my Dark Mechanicum, and then Jeff is going to be bringing on his Imperial Fists as the attacker and taking the place of the Iron Warriors in this scenario. So the objective is just to kill the opponent's army. There are secondaries. I have to keep control of my deployment zone with the Defiant secondary objective, and Jeff is going to be playing the breakthrough secondary objective. So he's going to be trying to do that to get some additional victory points. So it's been a minute for both of us actually to have played. So Jeff, do you want to say anything?
No, it's been like you said, it's been a while, and it should be a different mission. It's very different the way it's set up. So I'd like to build like a canyon and do it proper later, but maybe in a future date we'll do another video.
We're gonna have to build the forces for it for sure. I know you were thinking about an Iron Warriors force at one point, right?
I have a little bit.
So maybe we can do an actual historical game with some historical terrain. But that's enough for the intro. We're going to go ahead and show you the two forces that we're going to be playing today, and then we'll get started whenever you're ready.
Okay, so this formation is the Legion Heavy Assault Spearhead. There is a six what do they call it, man, or six detachment with 6 Land Raiders. They're the regular Land Raider, not the big one. There's 2 of those, and then there's one with 4. There is a detachment of Predators, a detachment of the Leviathans, and then a single Typhon, because that's what I had the points left for. It usually works out like that in 1500. And then the other detachment is the Legion Spear Tip Assault. Each has a Palisade, did I say that right? Palisade drop pod, 1 unit of, well, it's a fixed formation, so you can't modify it anyways. So it's going to be 2 sets of 4 drop, a commander and his drop pod, 2 sets of 4, infantry, 2 missile launchers, 2 plasma. That's a proxy today. The white guys are proxies. Each of the squads or the detachments have a Medicae in it, which I can find them. I marked them with a white shoulder pad.
Yeah, I see
them.
A
red dot on them. And then I've got a unit of Leviathans with the Meltalance, and then a unit of Contemptors with the las cannon, the accurate las cannons. And that would be my 1500 on the dot.
Sweet. Yeah, it's a good looking force, Jeff.
Thanks. Yeah, I've got a long ways to go for painting, but it's getting there. I'm doing a lot of batch painting right now, so still got to do base work on the Terminators, and I have more to this force. I have much more to it. So
yeah, I think you said you had about 3,000 points.
Yeah.
Right? Cool. Well, maybe we'll get a bigger game sometime soon. All right, so these are my Dark Mechanicum. This is only the second time that I've played them. I think we played a game against Hunter a while back. And so they're going to get another chance to shine on the channel. So we have 3 formations today. We have a Terror Protocol cohort. We have some Scintillax and Nuspheric Stalkers. We have 2 detachments of those. In the Terror Protocol, we have 1. We also have 6 Harpax Swarmers. And then we have 2 Arax Butcher Assault cohorts or companies. So these guys are super fast and extremely dangerous in close combat. The Harpax are pretty good, but they're about the only infantry equivalent that the Dark Mechanicum gets. So I'm not sure how important they're going to be in this scenario in particular, but they will be some good activation and distraction, hopefully. The Purge Protocol cohort has 2 of the Heavy Stalkers. It has 2 detachments of 4 of the Tenebrax Light Stalkers, and then 2 more of the Headquarters Nuspheric Stalkers. And as an optional detachment, we have another Overlord Heavy Stalker Maniple. And then at last, we have a Swarm Protocol Cohort, which has a couple detachments of the Harpax. So that's going to be the force for today. I'm going to go ahead and get set up in the center of the table, and we're going to get started. All right, the Dark Mechanicum has deployed in the center of the table, and we're facing off against the Imperial Fists. Pretty sizable contingent is still in reserve, of course, because they're in the drop pods, but I've tried to distribute my infantry across the table. I put my infantry down first. Jeff put down, he only had one formation that was going to be on the table, so all of his Imperial Fists you see there had to deploy at once. So I tried to put my Stalkers where they're going to do the most good, because the Dark Mechanicum has so few actual anti-tank weapons, and Jeff's almost his entire force is armored, or is a vehicle. I'm really going to have to rely on the butchers to take out a lot of those vehicles. So it's also just going to be a matter of weight of fire for the Tenebrax and anything else that's going to be firing at them. So that's kind of my strategy. I know Jeff's going to be dropping down his drop pods probably on the rear to try to surround me. So I'm going to have to do as much damage as I can before I get completely enveloped. I think that's about it for me. Jeff, do you have anything you want to say?
I'm not sitting too bad because all my Land Raiders do have forward deployment. Do I have to move forward, or can I move in any direction?
I think you can move in any direction.
So they have all the Land Raiders have forward deployment, so I can back up if I want to. Yeah, and then the drop pod force, like you said, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay, all right.
I'm a little scared of them spiders.
So we'll see.
Rookie.
Yeah, they're not.
Cool.
You don't want to underestimate them. They're not invincible, but okay. So Jeff's going to do his forward deployment, and then we'll probably do movement of turn 1, 2, and then we'll check back in with you after that. Okay, so I was able to charge my Arax Butchers into these Land Raiders here on the right flank. Jeff has decided to overwatch, so we're going to go ahead and film this live for you to see what the results are. So go ahead, Jeff, whenever you're ready.
So these are accurate las cannons hitting on 6s. Ooh, nice. So I got 3 hits so far, okay. And then I catch no more. So 3
so
hits.
3.
Minus
okay.
1, right? Minus 1. For the
AP. Yep, but they do have construct shields, so the hits just go to the construct shields. So I'm just gonna, I guess, mark them with a bead.
And they aren't loaded with a Terminator each, so we'll have to figure that out once we go.
Okay, guys, so construct shields are down, but my butchers are in close combat, so we're gonna go ahead and do that, obviously, later in the combat phase. Leviathans pushed up the table, and I countered with my Tenebrax. I took a few of them out with my heavy bolters, 3 of them, with the Maxima bolters that are underslung on the Tenebrax, using point defense. So I kind of got them contained there, I think, with the Storm Laser Flensers on the main gun mount. I think we're going to do enough damage to take out the rest of the detachment. And over here on the right flank, my Arax Butchers charged into the Land Raiders. Jeff disembarked his Terminators and fell back, trying to get them out so that they won't get damaged when if the Butchers are able to take out any of the Land Raiders. Over here in the back right flank, I left my other detachment of Arax and the Scintillax Stalkers in position, ready to counter any of Jeff's drop pods in turn 2. Over here, I pushed my Cerberus Heavy Stalkers up. I'm hoping to use my light AT weapons to take out some of the Predators. I don't have a lot of confidence that they're going to be able to do much against the Land Raiders with that 2-up save. Over here on my left, I advanced some of my Harpax into the structure. Jeff dropped down 4 of his Contemptor Dreadnoughts with las cannons, and I countered with those 2 Cerberus Heavy Stalkers. And on just the other side of that building there, 4 more Dreadnoughts dropped down. These are Leviathans, and they're pushing up into my deployment zone, so I'm definitely going to need to take care of them before they can score any points. Over here on the back center, I marched some of my Harpacks into this structure here, just getting them positioned kind of out of the way so they can respond to anything later in the game. And I also moved these two other Scintillax to counter the Leviathans and just keep them centrally positioned for later in the game. Go ahead and do it. So go whenever you're ready.
Well, on this end, I underestimated the charge range of these guys, so I'll learn it later after I play against these guys more. Well, if it's more of a pincer, I'm going to try to pincer you on this side. I don't know how well my Leviathans are going to do. You moved away from them, so I don't have much range now. I'm hoping the Contemptors will take something out, and then you moved away from here, so that kind of screwed that idea up. I think I'll do okay in the center, but we'll see how that goes. I lost a lot of Leviathans here. I do have a decent amount of last cannon firepower, so I think I can hold the line over here. This is going to be tough. I think I'm going to lose some Land Raiders right now. Maybe the Terminators can do their damage later in the next turn, but we'll see. So yeah, and I held my two infantry and my Palisade drop pods in reserve to hold back to try to score points, hopefully later in my secondary. Yeah, and that's about it.
Okay. Yeah, so pretty quick first turn. We're going to go ahead and do combat, and then we'll check in with you with those results after that. For combat, turn 1, over here on the left flank, the Cerberos and the Contemptor Dreadnoughts exchanged fire, and the Cerberos were able to destroy all 4 of them combined with the fire from the Harpacks in the structure there. A little bit farther to the east, the combined fire from the Scintillax were able to destroy 2 of the Leviathans and force them to fail a morale check and fall back. In the left center, fire from the Tenebrax on the right was able to knock out the remaining Leviathan dreadnoughts that hadn't been destroyed by the Maxima bolters during the point defense step. And the other detachment of Tenebrax were able to knock out one of the Land Raider Proteus on the left side there. The Terminators inside were able to disembark without taking any casualties. In return, the Land Raiders were able to destroy one of the Tenebrax and put a wound on another one. In the right center, my 2 Cerberos advancing up the table were able to put fire on the Predators and destroy 2 of them, but they were able to take, the Predators were able to put enough fire on the Cerberos to knock down their construct shields, which left them vulnerable to the Typhon. I always get those mixed up. The Typhon, which was able to knock one of them out with its las cannons. So whenever you're
ready. You said the damage that I did and you did, so I guess my Leviathans failed me. So one of them's broken. The last one that's on there, my Leviathans and my Contemptors. So I don't like taking small units, but the big squad did take a lot of damage, but you had a lot of firepower. I was really surprised how much firepower these guys have. The volume of dice is just crazy with them, which I think in this game is very important, is volume of dice. So anyways, that's all I got.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the Dark Mechanicum is definitely an interesting and different faction. I think it plays very differently from the rest of the forces we have available to us in Legions Imperialis.
Very cool.
So, all right, so I think that's going to wrap it up for this turn, guys. As it stands, I've destroyed 2 detachments, which are worth about 300 points. So based on the scenario, that gives me 3 victory points at the end of this turn. So over here on the left, my Cerberos have advanced. I pulled them back from their rearward position, moving forward to meet those Land Raiders, and probably put some fire on them in the combat phase. Here in the center left, I have left my Tenebrax in place, trying to get some shots off on first fire. Jeff moved his Land Raiders up, disembarked his Terminators, and I did try to screen with my Harpacks, but he was able to get several of them into close combat still with the Tenebrax at the rear there. So we're going to look forward to seeing that combat. On the back left, I advanced my Scintillax over here to meet the Leviathans, which rallied in the end phase of the last turn. Jeff has moved them behind that structure there, but they are still in range, I believe, of the Harpacks in the building there, so they may take some fire. But they're probably better off taking fire from the Harpacks than from the Scintillax. So over here on the center right, I have finally displaced my Arax and the Scintillax to counter Jeff's push with the Land Raiders and to position them more centrally to respond to any of his reserves. As for the rest of the Harpacks, they are still remaining in their structures, waiting for any counterpunch by Jeff's drop pod force. On the far right, I charged with my Arax into the Typhon and some of the Terminator detachment and the remaining Land Raiders. Jeff countercharged with his Terminators. There's going to be a pretty strong fight over here. The Terminators are still pretty good in close combat with that +4 CAF, so it's going to be probably an even fight here. So I think the only thing that's going to carry the day for me is going to be the extra wounds that I've got.
I disembarked my Terminators to garrison this building. I did the charge over here against the whatever these guys are called.
The Tenebrax.
Just moved shifted the Predators a little bit, and then like you said over here, I did my counter charging over here. Ran my Leviathans up, try to hide from too many units shooting at me behind that building. They're probably going to get lit up by those guys. I think they have range. I don't even know. I'm still learning that army. So this army, and I decided to keep my 2 drop pod units left and my Palisades in reserve to hopefully score me some points later in the game.
All right.
And that's it.
Over here on the left, this is for combat turn 2. Over here on the left, my Cerberos exchanged fire with Jeff's Land Raider detachment. Took all of the construct shields down from the las cannon fire. I think I did one wound in return, and the combination of fire that I poured into those Land Raiders from the Tenebrax and the Cerberos. So they do have a very high volume of fire, but the light AT is definitely a handicap against heavily armored detachments. On the back left, Jeff's Leviathan survived some fire from the Harpacks and the structure there. In the center, Jeff charged with his Terminators, made contact with 2 of the Tenebrax. I took 1 wound, and 1 of the other Tenebrax was completely destroyed. Just a little over on the right center, my Arax received a bunch of fire from the Land Raider Proteus, knocked down all of their construct shields, and then the Cerberos there fired on the Predators, did a single wound, knocked 1 of the tanks out. Over here on the far right, my Arax did a pretty good job, knocked out the Terminator detachment and 1 of the Land Raiders. Took a few wounds in response. Hopefully in the next turn they'll be able to clean up this side of the table. Go ahead.
So yeah, I was happy the Leviathans survived. They might get to assault the building next time, maybe. Because we're going on turn 3, right?
This will be turn 3 coming up. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this was disappointing, but I expected that. And these guys well, these guys are going to be nasty. These guys, the shooting attacks from these guys are really good. Very happy. I'd like to play this army one of these days. I'll probably collect it myself. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to add.
I guess we just need to tally up. Nobody's falling back. I did destroy 1 detachment, so that gives me another victory point. So I'm on 4. And then we're going to move on to turn 3. Jeff's Leviathan charged my Harpacks in the structure here. The Overwatch fire did a wound, which was enough to cause a casualty and another morale check, and these Leviathans are going to fall back again in the end phase. In the middle of the board, Jeff repositioned his Land Raiders to the left side of the table, facing out, as you can see, and I moved up my Cerberos to try to pin them against the side of the table. I should be able to get a las cutter shot Actually, I think they have the irradiation engines, so those won't be as effective. But it'll be a few more shots of light AT firepower going into them. Over here in the center left, the Land Raiders have repositioned, and I've matched with my Tenebrax here. And then, as you can see over there, just to the right of the screen. Also repositioned my Harpax to tie up Jeff's Terminators for this turn. They're not going to last long in close combat with the Terminators, but it's enough to keep them busy for this turn, which is really what I care about. Over here on the far right corner of the table, the Arax and the Land Raiders are all still locked in combat. Jeff did move the Typhon away, and I was able to catch it with the other detachment of Arax Butchers. So we'll see how that combat goes in the combat phase. All right, here on the far left, the Cerberus advanced, and combining their Storm Laser Array and the radiation engines were able to knock out 3 of the Land Raiders, taking a wound in return. On this side, just a little bit to the right, the Tenebrax were able to fire on the enemy and do a few casualties. In the center, the Harpax were wiped out by the Terminators, and in return, I did 1 casualty with the Scintillax. Way over here to the center, the Tenebrax were able to knock out all 3 of the Land Raiders with their combined fire. In this combat, the Arax were able to knock out 3 of the Predators and do a wound on the Typhon, but because the Typhon is scale 3, it was still able to fire, and it knocked out in 1 shot the last Cerberus from that detachment. Over here on the right, the Arax did a few more wounds, knocked out the last of the Land Raiders. All right, so this is the situation at the end of turn 3. The score is 9-3. Jeff's destroyed 2 of my detachments, the Cerberus detachment and 1 of my Harpax. And then I've knocked out a few of his Land Raider squadrons and some of the Terminators. So we're going to roll right into turn 4 and see how that goes. On the far left, Jeff maneuvered his Land Raider to position by my battlefield edge to deny me my secondary. I moved my Cerberus back to try to counter, put some fire on it, and just to put some additional tactical strength in my deployment zone. And then I moved my Harpax up out of the structure in order to get them in the deployment zone for their tactical strength. Here in the left center, I moved my Tenebrax back, trying to angle towards the deployment zone. Jeff's got his Terminators there, putting some tactical strength into the deployment zone to try to take it. I've got my Scintillax as well, ready to put some fire onto them to try to take them out. So Jeff reminded me that I was able to move my Tenebrax up and into close range of the Terminators, and the fire from their Maxima bolters was able to wipe out the whole detachment. Still in the table center, I was able to pursue the Typhon with the Arax, get it in close combat, and hopefully take it down at the end of this turn. A little closer to the center of the table, I'm moving my Tenebrax back towards the deployment zone, looking to put some fire on where Jeff's brought down his drop pods. And then here in the center right, I've maneuvered my Scintillax, looking to put some fire on Jeff's infantry that he's brought down in his drop pods. On the far right, I used a march order on the Arax in the distance there, looking to reposition them back to counter Jeff's drop pod assault. I've also got my Harpax in this tall structure here, ready to put some fire on these infantry that just dropped down. All right, so over here on the left, the Cerberus were able to knock out the last Land Raider, and I've got my Harpax in the deployment zone. In the center left, the Tenebrax and the Scintillax were able to destroy the last 2 Terminators that Jeff moved up into my deployment zone. The center right here, the Tenebrax fired on the Predator, but it made 7 saves and saved all of the fire that I put into it, so it's still kicking. Farther to the right, the Scintillax put a little bit of fire into the infantry here that dropped down, but only did a few wounds. So these infantry are still going to be able to put some significant tactical strength on the table. Here on the far right, my fire from the Harpax was able to do some fairly significant damage to the infantry. and they were able to respond in kind with the missile launchers and bolters. Did 3 wounds in return, so we're still going to have a bit of a firefight here at the end of turn 4. Over here at the very top of the table, my Arax were finally able to knock out the Typhon. All right, guys, so this is the end of combat turn 4. I know we did wrap up of all the events that just happened, so we're not going to belabor the point, but we are going to call the game here just because of the secondary situation with the Breakthrough and Defiant. There's going to be enough points on my side of the table from the main mission objective of destroying enemy detachments that I'm going to be able to carry the game. So, Jeff, do you want to just tell us a little bit about how you thought the game went and this new army, and then just maybe what you would have done differently?
What I would have done differently? Well, that's a tough one. Not underestimating the shooting ability. These guys shoot really good. And then they're multiple wounds, right? They're mostly 2 wounds, which keeps them. I mean, a unit that's. I mean, I'm not sure what the points are. I guess I'm gonna have to do my research. What would I have done differently? I probably would have tried to concentrate more power on one flank, maybe more, because I kind of spread my forces out, thinking that I could pull you away. I was anticipating your army to be more assaulty, but only 2 units, which were decent at assault. They can move. They could get into assault fast with the leader guys. So yeah, I mean, I need to read more, study that army more. It's going to be a tough one. I'm impressed by it. Very impressive. It's neat.
Yeah, it was fun to play. I think it was a good game. We made it to turn 4, which we don't always. What did you think about your army? I know this is a new one for you.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. I'd like to have played it at higher points. I think because I was real limited. I kind of threw this list together at the last minute, trying to get both. I wanted both the spearhead assault or the drop pod spearhead and the heavy assault in the same list. But at 1,500, the Land Raiders are kind of costly.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to build I have the rhinos and stuff to build a demi company. I'm going to probably do that, and which I'll use elements of this in it. And Typhon, I didn't like taking a single Typhon. I'm actually impressed by Predators. I kind of overlooked them. I'm looking at the points cost, and for what you get, the decent amount of firepower for the points for a Space Marine army. Yeah, I was going to put the Arcus Sicarians in them, and there's just so many points for those.
Yeah.
Or Whirlwinds. I don't possess them yet, but they're a lot of points.
Yeah, they are. I think they're too much for what they bring.
Well, I mean, being that they're indirect fire, which indirect fire is kind of broken in this type of game, I think they're probably point appropriate. If you can keep them out of range, or out of sight, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think what else I'd do differently. I brought the drop pods in late, not realizing that the secondary, they have to be guys on the table because it's a supply. What was it? A supply?
Yeah, you designate the units.
Yeah, so next time I play that secondary, I'll change it. But I'd really like to build like a canyon and do this like
the historical mission. Yeah, I think that would be cool.
We kind of threw this together ad hoc, so
yeah, I wanted to try the new mission from the new book. So
yeah,
it's definitely not true to what the
I don't think anything here is right now.
No. But I mean, it really doesn't matter, right? A mission is a mission. So I think the one thing I would definitely like to do, and from my perspective, one of the things that I think hampered the Imperial Fists here is that you only had the 2 formations, and you had to keep the 1 in reserve, and you had to put 1 in one of the deployment zones. If you'd had a second formation on that you were deploying on the table, you could have put it on the side, and you could have gotten a much better surround.
That's true.
Rather than having to depend on the drop pods to do that. So I think that could have helped.
So the defender in this one would be better for them to have 3.
I think so, because I mean, maybe not 3 necessarily, but because you had to keep 1 in reserve, you couldn't put it over here on my side of the table in that deployment zone. You had to keep everything I mean, you could have, but it would have been either this one or that deployment zone where you are. But
It's
if
a
you
really
had,
odd mission. It's just an odd mission.
yeah, it's different. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stop recording and I'm going to come around and show you the perspective from Jeff's side of the table, and I'll talk about my side of the mission. So this is Jeff's perspective. As far as the mission goes, I do think it is a bit different. I definitely would want to probably come at it again, maybe with the forces that are more tailored towards what it describes in the book. But I do think it was fun. I really enjoyed getting the Dark Mechanicum on the table again. I think this is only the second or maybe the third game that I've played with them, and they feel both fragile and powerful, and not powerful at the same time, just because of the fact that they have so much light AT. I think they're very dangerous against armies that rely on infantry and automata. But like against Jeff's army here, I definitely struggled. I really had to focus my firepower to get through those 2+ saves. Um, so it's sort of a double-edged sword. They're very powerful against things like Terminators, but you really, I think, have to be careful about how you deploy and use them.
Spartans may be a better choice for.
Yeah, with those 2 wounds, that's going to give you a longer-lasting firepower. So yeah, I won't ramble on too much. I just wanted to show you this side of the table, and hope that close out by just saying I hope you guys enjoyed the battle report. It's a little bit of a different style of kind of trying to make quick cuts going to each of the major flashpoints during the turn. If you guys enjoyed that, please let us know, and we'll carry that forward to the next one. And if not, then maybe we'll go back to the old style. So from me and Jeff, just a big thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.